Hello, Creative Tartanites, and welcome. I have decided to go live this evening. It's a little bit later than I would usually go live. Normally, I am not working on a Friday, and I will go live more 3:30, 4 o'clock my time in the afternoon, which is early in the morning for the States. However, I was working today, which meant that I didn't actually get in until my evening meal, and then I had to obviously cook and eat. And I gave myself a little bit of time to allow my evening meal to settle. I wasn't sure whether I would actually go live this evening or not, because I tend not to enjoy going live when I have been working through the day, because I actually work in quite a stressful environment. So I kind of like to chill out on my own. However, I just thought, I really enjoy hanging out with you guys, and thought that's probably just as relaxing. So I decided in the end that because I've got to this stage in 2 weeks, I thought I would not make it any longer, and just try and get this painting finished. So for those guys who have already joined me, please say hello in the chat, and I can obviously say hello back. Now, I wasn't sure whether to have my paints all ready or whether to just kind of kill a little bit of time to allow people to arrive. So I've got my palette ready, and I'm just going to pop out my paints. What I'll do is I'll show you what paints I'm actually putting out, because I think people always like to know what colours I'm actually using on my palette. Now, for those who have been following me for a reasonable length of time, you will know that these are three of my must-haves in my palette. This was another that I added. This was not a must-have. It has been a must-have. These are my go-to. That's probably a better word. Is my go-to paintings. So paint. I have burnt umber, yellow ochre, cad red light, quinacridone magenta, and ultramarine blue. Now, before I changed to the golden paints, my colours were, I didn't have the magenta. My colours were the cad red, and it was cad red hue. It was yellow ochre, it was burnt umber, and ultramarine blue. And that was in the, here we are. That was in the Taller Rowney. But then I changed over to the golden paints, and I got a starter set which actually had the quinacridone red or magenta in, sorry, and I've just recently replaced the yellow ochre. I just bought that. I had been using the Hansa yellow up until I bought the yellow ochre. So I'm just going to pop these out. I see that there are 7 people in the live stream. I'm not seeing any chat going on yet, but I don't know if that's maybe because I've got it as top chat, and I maybe should change it to live chat. There we go. You see, I can now see you guys. I'm so excited. Hello, Gray and Laura and Madonna, and hello, Stephanie. Stephanie is one of the Art Sherpa design team members. Hi, Stephanie. Watching as you work on stuff. Thank you very much, appreciated. I really love having you here, Stephanie. Dawn's here. Hi, Dawn. Welcome. So now I can feel a bit more relaxed, because although I knew that there were 7 people watching, it's strange. I kind of felt that I was talking to myself, but actually I wasn't. So fantastic. Right, let's get on. While I'm popping these paints out. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, Stephanie. It was very much appreciated. I hope you have fun working on whatever it is that you're working on. It certainly looks like you have a lot of fun when you're doing your videos. So yeah, I'm going to pop out the paints. What I tend to do with these, I don't know if this is a helpful tip or not, but I find that these caps, I have difficulty in opening them, and the ridges on them kind of hurt my fingers. So I tend to grab my paint cloth, and that allows me to get a bit more purchase, and it is not quite as sore on the fingers. Grace says, hi Tanya, I love you lit up. I'm glad I could join you. Oh, thank you. So nice to hear that. So thank you. So I've just got out some of my burnt umber. I tend to kind of sort of put my burnt umber and my ultramarine blue together. I don't know why I put my burnt umber out first. I usually put out my reds first, but it doesn't really matter which direction that they go in. It's funny how we're creatures of habit, aren't we? Isn't it? And the reason I tend to put my ultramarine blue and my burnt umber together is because when I mix them together, they make more of a dark colour. The two things that I'm going to surprise you with today is actually I'm going to use some acrylic inks. I am going to use, oh, do you know what do you know what I've realised? I've just realised I don't have my glasses on. I cannot believe I do not have my glasses on. I mean, I need my glasses to work. So would you guys be terribly upset if I ran and grabbed my glasses? I'm sure you won't. But I literally, honestly, I will be 2 minutes. I've just picked up my spare glasses, but I've just spotted where my other glasses are. Oh, I'd forget my head if it wasn't screwed on. Right, I couldn't find these glasses, but I picked up my spare glasses, and as I was running back into the room, I spied my actual glasses. I had been at the little girl's room to make myself ready to be on live without having to cross my legs by the end of it. I'd obviously taken my glasses off and popped them down as I was in the bathroom. So, got my glasses. Right. Okay. Rachel says she has one pair. Yeah, I think because I've had my glasses for quite a number of years now, I've kind of accumulated previous glasses, Rachel. Because it seems to be that because I'm getting old now, every time I go to the opticians, I need to increase the strength of my glasses, which is why I can just about get away with my last pair of glasses. But I do prefer to wear my current prescription. Right, so where was I? I was putting my paint out. And I was telling you about the fact that I was going to bring into the painting today some acrylic ink. So if anybody's got acrylic ink and they don't know what to do with it, this is a very good idea to use. Dawn says, I lose my glasses on my face, so it's cool. Yeah, are you one of the ones that do that and then go, what have I done with my glasses? I've done that before. So I have here, I have a purple. I'm just looking for the actual. This is called Purple Lake. It's acrylic artist ink, and it's by Della Rowney. And this one is Payne's Grey. I do like Payne's Grey. I've had these for a number of years. They are actually well used. Usually use them in my journal, but just recently I used them on a different painting. Now, do I have? I do. I've got the painting that I've already used it on. I've already used it on this painting to do the background. I really like the hint of purple that I get in with it because I used the purple and the Payne's Grey. And as you can see, the Payne's Grey is really actually quite dark without it being black. And that was my rationale behind using it. I thought to be honest, I actually thought I would get more drips in it. But because I then ended up using my brush, I lost the drips, but that was okay because I chose to just continue with it as it was because I did actually like the effect. I'm going to carry on putting out paints, and I'll have a look and see if there's any questions. Madonna said that she had hers on the top of her head the other day and searched all over. Oh dear, what are we all like, eh? I definitely would lose my head if it wasn't screwed on, I tell you. I really would. I'm going to pop out some magenta. In fact, I might leave the magenta because she's more peachy. I'm not so sure if there's enough pink. In fact, no, there's a little bit of pink. I'll maybe put I'll put a smidge, as Cinnamon would say. Just in case. But certainly from the photograph, it doesn't look like I'm going to necessarily need it. And I'm going to pop out some white. Now, on my last video, there was a comment that had been left to say when they had watched the replay that they thought that the camera angle was a little too far away. So if anybody wants me to show the actual palette, please let me know, and what I'll do is I'll pop it into frame every now and then and let you see. I'm going to try and be a little bit more vigilant about keeping an eye on the comments. Rachel's asking, is it wrong to want bed this early? Well, 9:15's not that early. It's not that early. And besides, you're coming to visit tomorrow, so get your rest and make sure that you get through here. Oh, hi, Kylie Koo Studio. Kylie is one of my friends who lives just across the water from me. Hi. Literally just about to start. Now, I think I've got everything. I've got my inks, I've got my paint, I have my Art Sherpa cat's tongue, and I've got it in the 4 and the 8. I've also picked up the Bright in size 4. I might use the smaller size of the Art Sherpa brush as well, if I can actually find it. Okay, I haven't got Scooby. What I've done with it, I was using it for the ATC. It should be there. I'm usually very good at putting my brushes back, but for some reason it's not, so I probably won't in that case. So yeah, let's get painting. Oh, excuse me, I've got hiccups now. Now, anybody who gets dizzy or vertigo or anything along those lines, I am going to move the camera a little bit. But I'm going to put my hand over the camera so you're not seeing it move. So hopefully it'll be fine. Be right back. Okay, I'm going to slowly remove my hand and hopefully it won't be bouncing about too much. Okay, that's looking down at the mess. Bringing up the camera now. Okay, so what would you prefer seeing? Would you rather just leave it at that and you're seeing the actual painting? I know you're not really seeing the reference, but I do feel that the painting is probably more advantageous to see rather than. Oh, hello, Chrissy. Hello. Welcome. I hope you are good this evening. Thank you for joining us. Right, now I've got my paint ready, but what I actually thought I would see, this is starting to come off now. It's every now and then you'll probably see me trying to put it back on. It's because it's been on, it's low tack tape and it's been on this board for a number of weeks now, so it really isn't liking staying stuck down, but that's okay because we're going to finish the painting today. I'm determined. I'm determined to finish the painting. Right, I'm going to start off. I think one of the mistakes I made the last time is probably starting off with the Payne's Grey. So I'm going to start off with the purple. So this is Purple Lake, as I said, by Daler Rowney. It's Artist Acrylic ink. And it has a popper, like so, and you squeeze it and it just lets out all the ink. So I'm going to pull up the ink into the dropper, and I'm just simply going to scribble it about the background because I'm just really, and I love that it's dripping. So I'm just adding it to where I think it should go. No rhyme or reason, I'm just wanting to add it. Although I am going to catch this drip before it disappears too much into the bottom section of this painting, because whilst I do appreciate a good drip, I'm not really wanting to necessarily repaint her shoulder and things. But if it dripped and it got there, then so what? I'd just repaint it. It's absolutely fine. So that's the purple. I'm just going to pop the lid on, and I'm now going to put the Payne's Grey on, and I'm going to try not to quite as much. Now you see there's it dripping a bit too much, so I'm just going to catch that. This is the smaller brush because I've got the other one in the water, and you can see just how much easier it is to actually put on the canvas because it's so much more fluid. So I like that. I'm not being particular here. I'm just simply oh, see, this is what I didn't want to happen, but it has, so live with it. There we go. And I'm not particularly fussed that in here is actually really very light, and I've just put in some really, really dark, because I actually have an idea that I'm going to try out, and we'll see if it works. If it doesn't, I'll just paint over it. It's as simple as that. So that is the purple. And now I am going to again go back in. Sorry, that's the Payne's Grey. I'm now going to go back in with the purple again, just in some of the areas. But as I said, it's just in some of them. I'm not being too particular. And then I'm going to go back in with some Payne's Grey again. Again, not being particular. And as you can see, it's running down. And I'm going to try and catch it. But I'm trying not to allow it to mix too much. So I'm going to catch this, because that's going into the hair. So I'm just catching the white bits really. And as I said, I'm trying not to blend it too much. But I think that's it starting to come together a little bit. And now I'm just making sure that the actual canvas is covered. Again, I could simply go back in with some more purple if I needed to. But I think we've got a reasonably good mix. So that's us done a very, very, very quick background. It looks very, very dark on camera, but it is actually not as dark as what it looks like on camera. I'm just checking to see if there's any questions. So Rachel's asking, how do you make the skin colour the same if you've stopped halfway through? That's actually a very good question. And I guess that comes with a little bit of trial and error, as well as a little bit of experience from my part anyway. So I kind of know roughly what colours I have actually used. But essentially, I'm going to use the same principle as I used in the first place to paint to get the colours. Kylie Koo's asking, what is the substrate you are using? I am painting on a cheap watercolour paper. It's actually only £90. I just wanted to put it through its paces and see how it actually did. It's holding up reasonably well. I'm not overly impressed with it, but it's actually reasonable. I've just spotted a few really white areas that the paper is showing through. So I'm just covering that. Oh, hi, Mona. Don't worry about it. I'm so sorry that you're still not well. Thank you very much for coming to hang out with us. But if you really have, if you feel unwell, just say, and you know, go, and I will totally understand. So there we go. That is the background. I'm actually going to, what am I going to do? What's the word I'm looking for? I'm going to mute the mic because I'm going to dry the background. And I'm going to try and remember and unmute it. Now let's get this. Oh, sorry, I've just knocked the camera. Right. Okay, back in a sec. Yay, I've remembered to unmute me. Right, it's not completely dry. I didn't expect it to completely dry in that short space of time. But what I have done is hopefully minimised the risk of the drips going down again onto the parts that I don't really want it to go down onto. Right. Okay. So what I noticed last week is that, oh, hi, Michael Ann. Hello. Thank you for joining me, or joining us, should I say. Last week I noticed that I was probably being a bit too particular with being a bit too accurate, and I wasn't really being loose enough and painterly enough. So I'm really going to loosen up my painting this week, just really to demonstrate that you know, it can be loose. It doesn't have to be you know, really rendered. So here we go. I'm waffling now because I'm actually trying to decide where I want to start. I'm kind of toying with the idea of actually starting down this end and then kind of going back up to the face. But then equally, I'm wondering, should I just go onto my face and work from there again? And just with the view of getting. So here's my palette. I'm going to mix some skin tone. Her skin tone is, oh, I forgot yellow ochre. After me talking about it, I forgot to put it out. Right, so there's my yellow ochre. I'm going to grab some of the Cad Red. I'm going, oops, I'm going to add some of the yellow ochre. I'm going to add a smidge or a small amount of the burnt umber, and then I'm going to add some white and see where we're going with that. Now I can see already that that's not really the tone I'm going for, so I'm going to add in some more yellow ochre and possibly a little more burnt umber. Oh, didn't realize it wasn't in frame, sorry guys. So I'm really just messing around with the skin tone until I get something that is the right tone, which that kind of looks about right. So I'm holding my brush much further back this week. I mean, I was holding it reasonably far back, but I'm actually going to put it further back again this week. So that seems to be a little bit of a different colour just in there to even here. So I'm going to leave it at that. It does seem to be quite pinkish in here. I'm going to pop this colour in just now and see where we go with it. I'm going to add a little bit of that, and I'm going to add that here, and it's much darker and much a browner tone. There's a little bit more of a red in there, so I'm actually going to add just a little bit of the magenta and just add that just on the edge of the cheek. That's possibly a little bit too dark, so I'm going to add just a little bit more white, and that's probably a bit more like it. There is also, it's a little bit redder here as well. So I'm going to attempt to just vary and add in a little bit more of the different tones in the skin. Now, what I'll do is I'll slide this a little bit and just explain a little bit about what I mean. So clearly we've got the different shade up here to here. There is a different shade again in here, and then it's more of a kind of lighter tan here, slightly pinkier in here. It's much lighter over here because this is where the light's coming from. It's light here, but this is still darker than this. And it's lighter here than here, but again, it's slightly darker than up here, for example. Here seems to be a little bit darker, and I suspect that that's because of the way that the light is actually shining on her face. It's a specific light that has been shone on her to take that photograph. Dawn says, bye all, I have to help hubby out in the cold. Everyone have a great day or night. Well, thank you for hanging out as long as you did, Dawn. It's much appreciated. Bye for now. So is this helpful information? Does that help people? So I'm now kind of going with a little bit of a lighter pink just in here. You can just see her eyes. So just this bit here, there's a much lighter sort of possibly pinkier than peach. And there's definitely, see, that's too dark. That's maybe a bit better, but again, maybe still a little bit too dark. So I'm just testing it as I go. That's a little bit better. It still needs to be darker than this area here, but it does need to be just that little bit lighter and maybe a little bit darker just at that area there. So I've said it before, and I'll say it again, I do tend to feel my way around a painting. In an attempt to try and just really put my interpretation and not try to worry too much about what's actually going on. So I'm just mixing a little bit browner a tone here. So a lot more burnt umber in the tone, just to get this part in here and this darker area just here, like so. There is a darker area just at the nose here. So I'm just going to attempt to find it and pop it in. And this nose shadow, it's a lot straighter in that area there. There is a curve to it, but it is straighter along this part here. So that's a little bit more accurate. I might add a little bit of blue just to kind of grey it a little bit, and just again add that. Probably still a little bit too light, so I'm darkening it up again just a fraction along there, and adding a bit more blue and burnt umber. It is grey as opposed to black, so, and it's much darker in at this part here. So there, we've got the nose a little bit darker, and as you can see, I've gone a little bit too far over, but that can be easily rectified by taking a little bit of the shadow off again. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm mixing some more of the skin tone, and it's quite light there. So I'm just bringing that down like so. A little bit darker, but still relatively light there. And I think that tone could possibly go here a little bit. So bringing that here, and we're back into a bit more of a brown tone that I will lighten up. So it's kind of more of a fawny just in this area here. And that's where the edge of the lower lip is. It's certainly a lot darker just in this area here. And then even darker again, literally just on the edge of her jaw. And because of the lighting and the way the photograph is, there actually seems to be a bit of a light area just here, which is quite kind of sort of peachy, really light colour. So let's see if we can so that's a bit like that. So there we go. So you can see that her whole face is actually changing with those lights and darks. Mona says, I'm okay with noses. I have a hard time with the eyes. I mean, I can get one eye looking great and the other is not so great. One suggestion that many artists have given is actually to paint both eyes at the same time rather than doing one and then the other. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. In fact, I might as well just go on to the eyes just now. And perhaps I can give you a few hints and tips about that. Now, this side is much lighter. So again, we're looking more at a fawn rather than a pink. There might even be a hint of green in there, actually. So I am just simply going to just run that up. I'm not going to worry too much. I'm going to get a little bit of water and I am going to just do that. Now, I've obviously gone down into the eye, but that's okay because I can fix that later on if I need to. And then, so that gives us the eyelid, and you can see that the pinkiness in here, and it runs along, and then there is the really light area, which I'm going to lighten again here. And I'm going to actually add that light up here as well, because I really think that it's much lighter. In fact, what I'll do is I'm going to use a little bit of the Hansa, or Hansa yellow. I'm going to use a little bit of this, just a tiny bit, just to lighten it up, but still give it some colour. Rather than just constantly adding white. So just in here, I'm actually seeing just a little bit of yellow, and I'm going to mix a little bit of brown in that, just off to the side. So you can see my palette is now starting to have lots of little blobs, and I'm kind of sort of taking from each of the blobs now to do certain shades. So that's what I mean by So that's a lighter brown that's going up in there. So that's actually, to me, that's actually looking a little bit better. So Chrissy's asked a question from Chrissy. Would you try this in different colours? Not the nor. Yes, I would. I quite happily use different colours. I don't necessarily always go with the photograph. I've done blue faces, green faces. It's really down to the tonal value, as I'm sure you're aware. In fact, to be honest, I'm not really sticking that true to the colours in the photograph, because this is a photograph, and apart from anything else, it's been printed out. So it's really gone through an interpretation of my printer as to what colours my printer has thought that was in this photograph, and so I'm quite happy to change the colours and the likes. So I hope that makes sense. Right, so that's a little bit darker than I had thought, but that's okay. I'm just looking at the edge of the nose, really, and I think that would be a really good tone to actually put in there for her, the little groove in her upper lip, and it might also be good to use just in this part here, because there is a little bit of a lighter area just here. Right, so do you see what I mean about the way I feel around about a painting? I was on the eyes and I ended up down on the nose. I mean, but you know, sometimes you make adjustments, and then you end up making more adjustments, and you kind of use up the paint because you've mixed it. So you might as well put it in other areas of the painting, and why not? And I'm actually going to go in here again with the lighter colour. Because I feel on balance it needed it. Because when you start lightening up some areas, it makes other areas look a bit too dark. So I'm just kind of balancing it off a little bit more. So again, although this area is dark, it's not as dark as I have got it. And I'm just popping a little bit of pink in there just to there. I think it's starting to look a little bit more painterly, look a little less I don't want to say forced, but I hope you guys know what I'm talking about. And Chrissy is saying, yes, exactly, Tanya, photo very washed out. Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, artistic license and all that, I think it's a good idea to do what we think that we need to do. Now, I'm going to take a little bit of a darker brown. In fact, I think I'm going to use my bright for this. So let's just get some paint on my brush. I'm going to be a little bit more accurate with this because I'm wanting to at least have some chance of getting it in the correct area. So there's a crease in there, so it's a little bit thick, but that's okay because I'm going to go back in with the eye colour that I had earlier, I hope. And I am going to go over this again, but leaving. So you can see how that is now starting to, you know, develop and show the actual, this upper lid here. And I don't think the camera's picking up particularly well, but it seems to be a little bit thicker there, and then it's coming down a little bit thinner. I am now going to, again, I'm probably going to use the bright, just because it is a straighter, you know, a sort of a straighter edge essentially. I mean, I'm very good with my cat's tongue, but I've promised myself I'm going to start using some of my other brushes a bit more, and just really put them through their paces, because I do a lot with my cat's tongue because I love my cat's tongue. So I'm just picking out some ultramarine blue, and I'm putting in some burnt umber to get myself a dark area. And I am going to just run the brush. And do you know, this is too big. I wished I had my other bright. Oh, I found it. I have found it. It was hiding from me. The universe has heard my plea, and I found it. This is a size 2 bright. So I'm going to pick up some paint on this now. And I am going to, see, that's better. That is much better. I'm going to add in the dark. But what I'm also going to do is I'm going to add in there's a line here that goes, so there's like the dark sort of line from the under the eyelid that's attached to the eyeball, and then there is a pink area that comes up and over. Now that pink area is obviously gone over by the lashes, but I'm not putting in the lashes yet, so I'm just simply going to put that line in. So I'm going to attempt to make the right colour. Maybe add a little bit of the magenta. And maybe a little bit more of the brown. This might be a little bit too red, but we'll we'll try it and we'll see. So it's coming from the bottom there, and it's making its way up like that. And again, I have gone over the eye, but it doesn't matter, because what I can do is I can take my cat's tongue and I can simply pop it back in. Now, as you can see, it's actually quite grey on the other side. So I'm actually going to pop in the grey. And I'm actually going to lighten that grey up. And I'm going to pop it in this side. And it's a little bit pinker on this side for some reason. So I'm popping that in there. And then there's a definite pink area just in there. And again, it's looking quite dull, and I'm going to be lightening it up with the iris. So I'm going to check the, Mona says, my tongue is burning. I am eating raw garlic. Oh, is there a reason why? Oh, you love garlic, right? Garlic is a natural antibiotic. Don't like the stuff you get from a doctor. Okay, I love our garlic too. I really do. I really enjoy garlic. So on this side, in fact, I'm just going to do one last thing with that other side, is I'm actually going to brown it up just a little bit, and then again I'm going to go back over with the colour of the lid, because what this does is it makes it look like the lid is over the edging, which it is. And I'm going to do very similar on the other side. So again, I'm really trying not to be too accurate. I'm really trying my best to just simply allow it to happen and let it be. So Mona saying she's looking great, you're doing good. Oh, thank you, Mona, very much appreciated. Very, very, very much appreciated. Right. So we've got a pinky brown on the upper lid here. Then we definitely have a dark line, and I'm just going to mix some of my burnt umber and my blue together, because I'm going to show you, this is my cat's tongue, and just how accurate I can get with my cat's tongue. And then there is a definite dark line that runs up here. I need a little bit of water just to aid me to be able to get this on, because it's a little bit dry. So that's better. And I'm going to pop the pupil back in. And I think what's happened here is I've been a little overzealous. So I'm going to pop in a darker line again, and pop in a pupil. So there we go. That's a little bit better. And I think what I'll also do is I am going to add a lot more blue to my darker mix, and then I'm going to get some white and make a really light blue. And I am actually going to bring the eye down a little bit, because I think what's happened is the bottom half of my eye has been covered up when I've painted. So I'm just re-establishing the actual eye itself. And the eye on the other side is much darker, but it's still quite a light blue. So I'm just going to add that in. In fact, it actually almost looks green. And again, although I've put in the dark here, I'm going to go over that again, because it really doesn't need to be as dark as that. But it does need to be dark. So I'm going to try that kind of colour there, because there does seem to be that lighter highlight here on the lid. But there's also that darker area just there. And I think it's a little bit pinker than that. So I'm just adding a little bit of magenta. So you can see how that's really opening up the eyes. And I haven't finished either eye before going on to the next one. So is this helping, Mona? Kylie's saying that it's amazing the difference putting the pupil makes. Yes, it does make such a difference, doesn't it? Now, under here, you can see that there is this light pink area going on. I'm going to ditch the small, and I'm going to use my cat's tongue again, because I don't know, I'm so used to it that I really, really think that it is a really good fit for me. I really like using it. So that's that. And then at the very edge of here is where the eyelash line is, so it's much darker. So again, I am going to darken this up with the burnt umber. And again, I'm going to go in with my cat's tongue. And I am going to catch the edge. And there is also a little bit down here to catch, like so. And there is a definite dark area here. So this is now starting to look like there is actually an eyeball. It's the lights and the darks are now starting to really make it look as if the eye is protruding. Well, at least that's what I'm hoping it's doing anyway. Now, just on this side, there is a much darker line. So I am going to attempt to add that in. So there's already the darker line underneath, so that's not really so much needed. Let me get the paint on my brush. So that I'm probably being a bit too particular now. But I think it's sometimes it is important. So there we have that part. And again, it's much darker in there than I've first popped in. So I'm going to mix some of the burnt umber into, as you can see, my palette is really lots of different areas. So I'm just picking sort of roughly the base that I think that I'm needing here. And I am just simply going to add in this little shadow that I'm seeing. And then there's a little bit down there as well. So it's starting to get there. It is starting to definitely get there. And whilst I was doing that, I definitely noticed that there is, again, a little bit of light just there. There is a definite light area there. There for sure, and definitely a highlight there. And again, I'm going to go in up there. Now there's it's a lighter, but it is definitely a shadow area kind of attached to this part here. So I've lightened it up, but I'm going to darken it again. So again, I can kind of go back in and make sure that I don't lose that dark area. And although it's dark here, it's not as dark as that shadow that the nose is casting. So hopefully you guys are finding this helpful. Chrissy says, going to love you and leave you. I'm getting tired. Hugs to you all. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me, Chrissy. It is very much appreciated. Lots of love. Take care and have a good sleep. Good night. Oh, excuse me. So now that you can see this dried, this is a little bit too dark in terms of the actual eyeball. So I'm going to lighten this up. So I'm going to do this. As I said, it shouldn't be. I'm going to put a little bit of a highlight on the inner lid, or the ridge, you know, where you would normally put your where you used to put the eyeliner in the 80s. I don't know if it's the in thing now. I suspect it's probably not. Yeah, I think we're kind of getting there. So it's much more painterly. I'm really liking how this background is turning out, and I really probably need to get a move on with this painting, otherwise I'll never actually get it finished tonight. I am going to make up more skin tone. So I think, oh, that's probably a bit too in your face. Maybe need to grey that down just a tad, because it's here. Now there is that area here, and then it's even lighter here, and definitely there is a light area here. But then you will notice that there is a darker area there, and that's probably not dark enough, so I'll add a little bit more burnt umber. And I will start to darken this area here as it comes down, and try and even out the actual right. So there seems to be a bit of, although there's dark, there seems to be a bit of light hitting here. So I'm going to add that there. And I'm also going to lighten this up just a bit more again. Bringing, there we go. I could fiddle with this for quite some time, but I am trying to get the painting finished. So let me go back to the eyes. I am going to much redder than that, I think. I am going to pop in this part here. So this is the inner, again, the inner area of the bottom part of the eye. It's much darker in at this corner, and then it gets a little bit lighter pink as it goes around. And then when it comes to the other end, it is actually much darker, sorry, into this area here. So that's this part here. There is definitely a pinky browny colour in here, and I think I'll just re-establish that sort of pinky in area in there, because the actual eyeball doesn't go all the way into the corner, so the pinky area does actually come out into the eyeball. Like so. And then I noticed as I was looking, there is a very much of a highlight just here, and perhaps just there as well. And it's definitely much lighter in that area there. So you can see how our eye is starting to pop off the page now. Hello, Beth. Welcome. Thank you for popping on to say hello. Very much appreciated. Okay, so where do we go from here? I am thinking that again we have the ridge line where the eyelashes start. So I am going to just establish that. Like so. So that's kind of roughly where the eyelids, the eyelashes are going to be. It is a little bit darker underneath there, but I don't think it's as dark as we think it is. So I am going to try this kind of shade. It's maybe a bit too light, but that's okay. I'm just really just experimenting a little bit at the moment. So I will kind of try this shade. That's not too bad. Okay. And again, there's always that sort of highlighted area just in there. So I think we're starting to get somewhere. I think perhaps maybe I need to adjust this ever so slightly. I'm thinking that I've brought that probably down just a little bit too far. So I'm just bringing it up a little bit more. And that means I'm bringing up the actual line for the eyelashes just a little bit further. Right, I'm going to pop in some nostrils again. So really dark colour. Establishing that there. And that there. Just getting the right shape for the nostrils. And I think that about does that. Right. It's funny how I'm starting to work my way back down, but yet I then ended up back up at the eyes again. So hello there, Jerona. What type of paint do you use? At the moment, I am using golden acrylic artist colours. So these are good quality artist acrylic paints that I'm using tonight. Right, so I'm going to again make my way back down to where I was and stop distracting. I'm trying to stop distracting myself because I really want to finish this for you guys. And time is marching on. So I'm going to use some of my cad red, some of my yellow ochre, a little bit of burnt umber, and I'm going to use white and re-establish some patches of skin tone. I'm greying it a little bit because of where it is. So I've added a little bit of the blue to grey it. So we've got this kind of colour here. I'm going to add just a little bit of pink because just this area here, there seems to be some pink. It's quite dark in this area here. There's a little bit of a dark bit there, there's a dark bit there, and there is dark here. I'm really going to go in with some darker tones in here again. And there is a shadow triangle here that I'm re-establishing. There's darker tones in there. And again, I'm actually going to use some really dark tones to re-establish the really dark areas. In here before it gets to just the shadow area. Right, so there's again there's a bit of shadowing here, and there is definitely a line of shadow that's sort of running this bit here. Maybe not quite as dark as that, so I'm going to lighten it up just a little bit. But it's definitely there. There's also some shadowing in here and along this finger here. Okay, there's a bit of shadowing there and there. Definitely much more shadowing there. But then it starts to go a little bit more skin tone here, and it's lighter underneath for some reason. So maybe add a little bit of pink just in this area here, because it seems to be quite pink. And just lightening this part up here, because there's actually quite a lot of light hitting this girl in here. There is some light hitting there, a little bit of light hitting there, and maybe some light hitting there. So again, you can see that it's starting to really build up the shadows and the lights. And the fact that we've been at this for quite some time, it shows that actually, you know, it takes time. You know, you can't expect to just paint a portrait in one sitting necessarily. I mean, you can with a bit of experience and if you're going for a different style, but I think really I would be saying that, you know, don't expect yourself to sit down and bring out a portrait in one sitting. Not with acrylics anyway, because it really does require the layers to establish what's going on. So I'm just really kind of giving her a bit more shape to the hand as well. And you can see there's still white areas. And I'm not quite so focused on actually getting the fingers quite as detailed necessarily as the face, because the fingers are not they're not going to be necessarily the focus of the viewer. So I'm just greying up a little bit because there is a definite shadow here that I would like to establish, and that definitely comes up here, and I'm going to darken again this shadow here. So again, just really re-establishing this shadow. I'm probably looking at lightening this area here. But still keeping it reasonably dark because it's on the neck. So it's much grayer. So how are we doing, guys? What's new with you in your art world, in your art journey? What's been happening? And Kylie's saying it does take time and it's great to see how you built it stroke by stroke. Thank you. Thank you. That's very, very much appreciated. I really do enjoy my art sessions. And I'm very glad I came on. So I've just spotted something that I knew I had a tone for, so I've just popped it in. At least I think it's a good tone for it anyway. I think it's maybe needing to be a bit lighter. There's just this bit here that I think needs to be kind of re-established a little bit more. Right, there we go. So you can see I really do kind of float around the painting. I'm seeing that there is actually an ear in there. It's not that obvious. However, what I will do is I will go in just with some skin tone and establish a skin tone underneath so that when it actually comes to painting the hair and things, I won't necessarily be painting all the area, but what this will do is it will give the skin tone to glow through, if that makes sense. So it's much darker just in that area there. So I'm literally just popping in some shadows, and it's much darker down here as well. So there we have established the ear, and I'm actually going to put in some darker tones in this side just because I have them to hand. So that's showing some of the darker tones in there as well. So as I say, it doesn't have to be particularly accurate because it is actually hidden behind. Yes, feel better, Mona. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out, even just for a little while. You take care of yourself. Tuck yourself into bed and get a good sleep. I will catch up with you tomorrow and see how you're doing. Bye for now, Mona. Lots of healing sparkles. Now, one of the things that I can see on this photograph, and you might not necessarily be able to, well, you can't actually see it because it's not in frame. Let me shove it in frame and see. She actually has some nail polish at the end of her fingers here. So I thought I might just do her nail polish. So it's kind of a brown, but there's definitely a kind of a pinkish hue to it. So I've added a little bit of the a little bit up further up, a little bit of the magenta with a little bit of the blue and a little bit of the burnt umber, and that has made this kind of tone here, or this kind of colour there. And I am going to just plonk on some of that colour in the general vicinity of her fingers, and pick up some more paint. In fact, you can't, oh, you can, but I need to shove it back again. There we go. And hopefully establish some nail polish, which is kind of cool. So there, and there is some on her little finger, but we're not seeing much of it. So there we go. Would you be interested in a close-up? Shall I bring it up to the camera a little bit and show you just how painterly I'm being? This way. There we go. There we go. I don't know if that's in focus, but you can see how the painting is really starting to come along, I hope. Right. So Kylie Koo Studio is away to bed now too. Thank you so much for coming. I really, really, really do appreciate it. It's lovely to see you. So have a good night. Sleep tight. It's just as well I'm not working tomorrow, because it's 10 o'clock for me, but I'm going to continue just a little bit longer. And hopefully you guys are all right. So say hello if you're still here. And I'm going to carry on. I'm going to put in her top now. So that's that. I'm going to require the yellow, I think. So I'm going to try and get a nice peachy colour. So that's very much an orange. Let me see. There we go. So I think that's me getting a nice peachy colour. So it's kind of started off really very orange. I've added a little bit of the magenta, and I think that's kind of helped me to get this nice peachy colour. And of course, the Pantone colour of the year is Living Coral, which is a nice peachy colour. So there we go. That's better. It's still looking a bit orangey on the page, but I think I've got a reasonable peachy colour. I'm just going to slap that on as best as I can. I'm not going to go into the crinkles. That would just take far too long. So Laura's still here. Hi, Laura. And Madonna. I see you're still here. That's lovely. So just getting that colour on there. It might end up being a bit too orangey, or it might end up being too dark. But what I really want is just to get the colour on. There we go. And there's also that bit up there. So I'm just going to add that like so. Probably a little bit too light, but that's okay. Right, so let's remix some of this. There we go, adding the red in, and I've just used the last of the magenta, so it's kind of a pinkyish peach, because it's definitely a bit too orange on the page just now. But as I say, that is perfectly okay. And we'll get, oops, that's a bit too much, but never mind. There we are. It's much lighter on this side anyway, so that's fine. There we go. We're kind of getting there now. We're kind of getting there. Right, I'm going to add a whole load of different colours here. I'm going to add a little bit of burnt umber to this mix. As you can see, it's kind of darkening it up. But then what I hope this will do is it will help me to establish a nice colour for her hair. So that's actually not too bad. Now this is just the under area of her hair. And as you can see, there is that darker area as well. So I'm just establishing that part. Definitely the darker area here. So looking at really darkening that part here. In fact, I think I will darken that bit there as well. Lighten that bit there, sorry, because that's where her scalp is. And then it's much darker up the back. You stop seeing it after a while. So there we go. That's kind of getting there. Right, okay. I had hoped to get this finished. I just feel that it's just dragging on now. Oh, thank you, Madonna. I really do feel that it's starting to drag on just a little bit longer than I had anticipated. It's not where I wanted to get to at this moment in time. But what I'm going to try and do is just really try and get some of the darker values in her hair. So I can just simply look at going in with some of the really, really light areas. And then, of course, it's a lot grayer. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. There we go. It's much grayer at this back part here. Definitely a lot warmer there. And then what happens is we actually start to see some really thin white hairs really starting to sort of come from her here. There's a definite light area here. And then there's probably a warmer, so this bit comes up here, and then it really comes down this area. It's a little bit of a different color there. And then it goes back to being really very wispy. So I'm going to again try and really establish that part, then the more middle part So you can see it's coming down. And then this is again a different sort of area, and there seems to be another bit of hair that's coming from this area, and it's coming down here like that. So there, and there is more coming. Let me see, where's that coming from? There's hair coming down there, but there's also hair. I think that's actually coming from behind her ear. So it's coming from there, and it is coming down that way. So I think this needs to be a little bit browner, a little less white. So like so. So you can see it's starting to take shape. Right, better check the Madonna, saying that's a really pretty colour. Well, take it you mean the top Madonna. How are we all doing? We've got 4 people still watching. How are we? So I'm just bringing her hair down because that's what it's doing. And it is definitely really white. It's really bright, this area here. But it's not, there are actually areas that are browner and not as white. So I'm going to really try and keep those in. There's areas that are well established, and there's very little of the background shining through. So you can see how I'm building this up. There's definitely some more light area at the back here. And again, there's now strands sort of coming off and going off on their own little tangent. And that's okay to really kind of look at them and try and get them in. And it's really, really dark at the moment because I've got such a dark background. but that's okay. And I'm just keeping going, keeping adding. Adding in more white where it's needed. It's a lot whiter in here because that's where the light's shining. So you see how that it's now starting to really look like there's light actually shining on her. I might even just really add just a couple of really white. Oops, maybe picked up a bit too much yellow there. So it's maybe just a little bit too yellow, but I'm going to go with it for the time being. I think we're really starting to establish that sense of light shining on her hair. Maybe need to add just a little bit more of the light in this area here. But I don't think it's quite as light. But there is definitely a little bit more than you might think. So there we go. It's really starting to take shape, I think. Again, a little bit more establishing of the light. In fact, I'm going to clean my brush because I think it needs a little bit more pure white. Coming down from there, there's lots of light catching. There's hair flying everywhere. There we go. So, what are you guys thinking? Have you found this useful? It has taken 3 sessions and I'm still not completely finished the painting. I had hoped that I would have it finished, and alas, I haven't. I haven't actually finished it. So I'm sorry about that. And although this is not the same colour of top that's on the photograph, I'm actually tempted to just leave it that colour and not really fuss too much about it. So Madonna, you're definitely seeing you're definitely seeing the light, which is very much appreciated. Um, and Madonna's saying, "Love it so much. Great takeaways from this. You're giving great instructions." I'm so pleased. I'm so glad. It's not something that necessarily translates all the time, because I'm Scottish and I use certain words that other people might not necessarily use. Um, it might not necessarily come across as particularly great instructions. So I'm really pleased that it is. Very pleased. Now, one of the things that I had planned on doing today was actually to get out my pastels, particularly my white pastel, to really pick up on the white hair, essentially, to pick up the fact that it is so light. Whoops. We'll call that artistic license. Because this is definitely much lighter here than I currently have. But that's okay. I think that's probably about it, to be honest. The only other thing that really needs to be done is the details around the eye, which is the eyelashes, and the mouth. So let's see if I can at least try and get the eyelashes done for you. Sometimes it takes me a few tries to get the eyelashes done, I will not lie. Really depends very much on the steadiness of my hand. But I usually just go in with my cat's tongue. And I try not to do every single eyelash. I try to see where it's the darkest and try and establish where I need to actually put the eyelashes. Now, I hope my head's not in the way. Silence, I'm concentrating. Okay, so that's there we go. I think that's the what way? This way. There we go. I think we've got the eyelashes on one side. Oh, hello, Jeanette. Hi there. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So that's one side. Let's see if we can get in the other now. So there is definitely eyelashes here, and oops, it's maybe just right. So we're definitely seeing eyelashes there. There. I think that needs to be up a little bit more. Okay, maybe some eyelashes can be seen there. Possibly a little bit darker there. It's perhaps not quite as neat as I would like it, but you know, considering I'm using the Cat's Tongue size 4, I think that's not too bad. So I'm just going to just try and establish the eyelashes at the bottom now. Maybe, again, I'm not 100% happy with that, so I will possibly go in between. Possibly the wrong colour to be doing that with, but we'll see when it's dry. Might add a little bit more red, maybe a little bit of the burnt umber. Just establish a browner colour. There we go. That's. I hope my head's not in the way again. That's a little bit better. I think the eyelashes, one of the reasons I wasn't quite happy with them is because they were just coming from the wrong area. So I'm just going to leave it at that. That's the eyelashes now put in. I may fiddle about with them a little bit more, but I think for the purposes of today, I'm not going to mess about with them too much, and I'm just putting a little bit, oops, more of the flesh tone in there. Again, this is the wrong colour to be adding just here, but I see white areas, and white areas bother me. So just using the colour just to get the whiteness away from the areas that I've spotted. Right, so the mouth. I've said it many, many, many times. the teeth are not white, so I'm just going to use some of a little bit of the flesh tone, and that's helping with the teeth. I'm going to add in the shadow, which is there. It's probably not dark enough. Just darken that up a bit. I'm actually just going to go in just a little bit closer, just to get that darker area there, because it is darker. There's no two ways about it. And then I am going to get a little bit more of the peach colour. Okay, there we go. Just put in a little bit more of that there, and then re-establish that lighter area there. There seems to be a slight lighter area there and there, and so it's not accurate. It's not particularly absolutely polished, finished, but I'm kind of happy with where she is at this moment in time. Laura says her eyes really pop now that you have put eyeliner and eyelashes on her. Thank you, Laura. So I think I'm going to call this done. It's not where I would be. Yep, absolutely, definitely, it is done. This is exactly where I would leave the painting. But I think for the purpose of this video, and for us being able to move on to something else next week, I think now is a good area to leave it, because I really, 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 really don't want to bore you all to tears. So I'm just going to pop my hand over the camera again. I'm going to move it back. So hopefully it's not bouncing too much. There we go. There we are. So guys, thank you. I cannot thank you enough for hanging out with me for such a long period of time. I really, really, really do appreciate your time and all your lovely comments. You guys are fantastic, awesome, creative Tartanites. So thank you. I hope that this has been really helpful. Here is the painting. There is much more that I could do with this to really polish it a bit more. But as I said, just for the sake of this video, I really don't want to be going on for any particular longer time. I like I like the purple in with the Payne's grey for the background. So instead of it just being the plain black like it is in the photograph, I like the addition of the purple. Does anybody have any questions? Michael Ann says that she's going to be watching the replay. Oh, thank you. And I see lots of love hearts from Jeanette. So thank you, Jeanette. And Jeanette also says it looks good. Michael Ann says it looks awesome. So thank you. I really, really, really do appreciate you guys from the bottom of my heart. I know that I went live not at my usual time, and it was very ad hoc. It was very, I didn't really have that much time that I was able to sort of let everybody know I was going to be going live. It is Friday. I appreciate that people are usually busy on a Friday. So thank you. Any questions before I go? Because I'm going to go now. Is there any burning questions that anybody would like to ask me? Madonna says, thank you so much, Tanya. This has been a great series. I really appreciate that. I really do. And I tried to make it as quick as I can, but I do like to layer my acrylics, I have to say. And it does tend to take me quite a lengthy period of time to do a decent portrait. Well, it doesn't look like anybody has any burning questions at the moment. I did answer quite a few good questions throughout the video. So please don't forget to like this video. And if you think other people are going to benefit from watching it, please, by all means, share it. And if you're new to my channel, please subscribe and don't forget to hit that bell. That way you get notifications anytime I go live for an impromptu live, or if I, you know, upload a video, you will hopefully get notification of it. So thank you. Take care of your mental well-being, everybody, because nobody else can. Lots of love. Bye for now. Oh, my mouse is, see, I tried to make a getaway and my mouse has gone to sleep. Bye for now, everybody. Bye.